complain that you talk too much or too little? I didn't mean anything by that. If you're a woman, do you feel that your boss or your partner doesn't listen to you? If you're single, do you have trouble asking somebody on a date or figuring out if they're interested?
Or if you're in a relationship and you know you're both speaking English, but somehow it's a different kind of English. These are all, as that famous film line indicated, a failure to communicate. We have with us one of the authors of He and She Talk, How to Communicate with the Opposite Sex, Laurie Schloff, who is also a Director of Executive Training at the Speech Improvement Company in Boston. Welcome. Good to have you with us.
Nice to see you, Tom. Hi, Suzanne.
Hi.
All right, now do you feel like you're going to be better able to communicate with Suzanne than moi?
Well, there have been studies that show that women feel a little more comfortable talking to friends or close relatives than they do to their own mates. But that's okay. We don't have to be conversationally monogamous.
Oh, good.
You know,
that's right.
You can have your mate.
Tend to be that way, though. I mean, you really pointed out in your book that women tend to cluster together and men cluster together. The other thing I notice is that men tend to jump into the conversation more readily than women do. I mean, that was kind of
we're not giving him a chance right now, but yeah, absolutely. I think men may feel a little bit more comfortable interrupting, and what happens is that women feel very comfortable yielding, because we are trained to be somewhat polite. And I see you're being so polite and listening now.
Well, I'm trying to shatter some stereotypes here. What is it about, particularly in relationships, when a woman feels she is communicating what she needs and wants in the relationship, and so does the man, but it's clear that the messages aren't getting across? What's the most common reason for that?
Well, it's a different attitude towards communication. So, for example, let's say I share a problem with you. Let's say I'm trying to decide whether to go to art school or to stay home with the kids. And you'll give me a solution. You'll say, you know, you've been talking about art school for 5 years, Laurie, so why don't you sign up? And I say, I didn't ask for your advice. My attitude is I just want to share the problem with you. Yours is, oh, she wants my help. Let me give her some advice. So it starts up here with how we're trained to think about the purpose.
So what's your point then? If you're kvetching about art school or stay home with the kids for 5 years, and I'm hearing this like a battering ram in my brain, and I finally try to help put it to bed.
But you just said kvetch. That's the whole point. You're not getting that women may want to talk for the sake of sharing,
for the sake of obsessing about the same thing.
Well, you're relabeling it. You're relabeling it. I'm not saying women never want solutions, and I'm not saying men never want to just talk a problem out. In fact, I think we have to cross-fertilize a little bit.
You know, I would say one of the most common complaints that women have about men is that they don't talk enough. What do you recommend couples do when they're dealing with that problem?
Well, what happens is that men may feel a little bit more comfortable talking in the workplace or for a certain kind of bravado. Telling jokes, for example, seems to be a province mostly of males. When have you gone to a party and when has a woman sort of stolen the show telling jokes? What happens is at home, a man might view just being together as a comfortable way to be. The woman wants intimacy through talking. And therefore, again, it's the difference in attitudes that makes people extremely frustrated. Now, I didn't answer your question, which is what do you do about it? Well, how about agreeing on some sort of communication, conversational compromise?
Which would be what?
Well, usually will be the woman who will initiate this kind of thing. Honey, I'd like to talk to you more often. You know, could we touch base either in the morning or before we go to sleep or whatever? And don't make it a big, long marathon. But touching base literally for 60 seconds a couple of times a day in a comfortable and smooth way, I think will really help a relationship.
But sometimes just the initiating always seems to be the woman's job. And you talk in your book about what the man's job in communicating is and what the woman's job is.
What's the man? Assuming that stereotype is correct, that it's the woman's role.
It's because the woman cares about it. It's not so much that it's her job. I mean, one experiment for women to try, and I assume there's a lot of women out there who are experiencing this conversational frustration, they'd really like to talk more with their mates, is don't talk for the next week. Don't be the one to initiate. See what happens. And your mate may truly say to you, aren't you going to ask me how my day was?
All right.
So turn things around. Shake it up a little bit.
I just want to say to all of the women and men who are watching and by a phone, I want to talk with all of you, as I know we all do. So please give a call, 787-4444. If this is sounding very familiar to you and you want to break some conversational